Thursday, December 8th, 2021. This hearing is being held as required by the provisions of Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth, an act relative to the protection of the wetlands as most recently amended. Notice of the time and place of this hearing was published in the Advocate on December 2nd of 2021. It's also posted in the town clerk's office. This is being sent out live broadcast. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. So first thing is minutes for approval from November 10 of 2021. Joanne, thanks for sending those out. So if anyone wants to make a motion to...
Motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstaining or opposed? Okay, unanimous, thank you. Do you want us to do two different votes? Okay, so I
Can you
would...
do the executive session
Yeah.
too? Yeah, please.
Yeah. And also, have motion to approve the minutes from the executive session from that day.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, that's unanimous. Next, meeting mail, Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commission dues membership increase.
The Massachusetts Association of Conservation Commission has informed us that our dues amount will be going up for fiscal '23. It'll be $443, so they just wanted to make us aware of that
Okay.
for budgeting purposes.
How much would it change it, but?
I don't think it was too much. It said 2%.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have no old business, so we'll get on to new business. So this first one is a public hearing for an RDA for Joshua. Actually, I'll entertain a motion to open this hearing, and then I'll read what it is.
Move to open this public hearing.
All in favor?
Aye.
So this is an RDA for Joshua and Doris Aruda at 148 Peckham Road. A request for determination was filed by Joshua and Doris Aruda for property located at 148 Peckham Road, map 16, lot 7, plan lot J. The applicant proposes to install a septic system with associated grading within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by Kevin Silva of S&K Engineering LLC. Plan name is Septic System Repair Plan for 148 Peckham Road, dated November 15 of 2021. So I notice we don't have a file number for this.
We wouldn't for an IDA.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're in NOI mode.
All right, so I don't see anybody here.
We didn't have the engineer come up because it was a pretty straightforward
Mhm.
proposal that we saw in the field. And
Yeah.
rather than have a crowd.
Right, yeah, I didn't see, I mean, it seemed pretty
A
straight.
lot more straightforward than it seemed.
Right. Yeah.
I would just make the recommendation that when you approve it, that we have some conditions,
Mhm.
that there be a silt fence 25 feet from the wetlands line, and that no soil be stockpiled in the buffer zone,
The usual.
and that the soil from the previous septic system not be reused on site, and that he have the erosion controls inspected before he starts work.
That makes sense. Yeah, so Everett and Pat and I were there on Saturday, and Mr. Aruda brought us over, showed us what was
Yep.
going to happen. Flags were marked. You know, some big rocks have to get moved because they have to extend the yard a bit. They'll be getting ready to haul this lovely grove of Japanese knotweed. Then we just, redo it, so as long as, we're apprised of what's happening, when it's happening, I think it'll be fine. So with that said, I will entertain a motion to issue a negative determination with the following special conditions: that there be a silt fence installed. There's already going to be, what was the erosion control that was there?
There wasn't any there. That was down at the road that he had the silt sock.
You didn't have any on the plan? Thought I saw some on.
There's nothing on the plan, I was just
No.
looking at that. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't see it.
So you're saying there's a silt sock on the road?
On his other project, yeah, on his shared driveway, his common driveway.
So is this hatch thing, is that fence? Is that what,
That is the,
is that fence? 'Cause I don't see any notations made to that,
no.
so I thought that was.
One said it was a shrub line and the other said, I think they're just demarcations from the buffer zone. But there are no erosion controls on the plan. He probably doesn't, the wetland is upland from the work they're doing, it is up gradient. But for me, the silt fence can be the limit of work, and it's
Yeah.
just a clear demarcation, don't go any further, so. That's my reason for wanting the silt fence.
Okay. So with that said, a negative determination with a silt fence 25 feet from flag line, no soil to be stockpiled in the buffer zone, previous soil, anything related to the previous septic or cesspool will not be reused on site, and that the agent approve the erosion control first before work begins.
So I make a motion for the negative determination with the mentioned special conditions.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Any all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, that's unanimous. Okay, motion to close that hearing,
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now you need a motion to open the next hearing for DeBarros.
Make a motion to open public hearing.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A notice of intent, Eric DeBarros, map 14, lot 4C, Hathaway Road, file number is SE 001-0570. Notice of intent was filed by Eric DeBarros for property located at map 14, lot 4C, Hathaway Road. The applicant proposes to construct a single-family dwelling, septic system in a 12-foot wide gravel driveway, along with a 50-foot by 80-foot barn/garage southerly from the dwelling within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The applicant is represented by David M. DeVignan of Schneider, DeVignan and Leone Incorporated. Planning the sewage disposal system site plan, Hathaway Road, dated November 18 of 2021. And Mr. DeVignan, once you figured out these old floor doors.
It's like it's rusty. Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, I'm Dave DeVignan from Schneider, DeVignan, Leone, representing Eric DeBarros. He's the applicant. I have the green cards.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone returned them. Imagine that.
Ready?
So on behalf of Mr. DeBarros, we have filed notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home. I've highlighted that on the plan in yellow. He also wishes to construct a garage barn accessory to the dwelling. The barn is primarily going to be outside the buffer zone of the wetland system. The house will be within the buffer zone. I've highlighted in green on the plan the wetland system that was flagged by a botanist. As you can see, a large portion of the site contains wetlands. There's an intermittent stream along the easterly boundary. I think I highlighted that in blue on the map. It runs south to north. I think it ends up at Scout's Pond. Anybody that knows the area. It's an intermittent stream. It's not shown as a perennial on the USGS map. The very easterly part of the site also falls within natural heritage. And as you can see, there's more wetlands as you head up north of the site towards Hathaway Road. It kind of bubbles out. There's an open meadow that's part of the wetland system, so the wetland comes out into the field beyond the tree line that you see. As you can see, part of the house will be located within the buffer zone. We have it 90 feet from the north wetland, and 60 feet from the northerly wetland and 91 feet from the easterly wetlands. We've positioned the house more or less balanced in the open field with the garage and barn. The septic system will be located in front of the house, mostly outside of the buffer zone. A small slither on the south side will be within the buffer zone. It's a fairly large system. Due to the slow percolation rate, it will have a denitrification system, so the wastewater will be treated before it goes into the leaching field. The driveway, we're proposing gravel, 10 foot wide from Hathaway Road through the site. It's staked out in the field if you wanted to go look at it. Overhead electric will be brought to the site, onto the site from Hathaway Road until we get to a point where we're in front of the house, and then we'll go underground from there to the house. Water will be brought in from Hathaway Road. There's a water line in Hathaway Road, so that'll straddle the easterly side, westerly side of the driveway until we get to the house. The grading that's proposed essentially is in the front of the house, primarily for the septic system. There's very little, just massaging of the existing grades by a foot or less along the back of the house towards the wetlands. We're feathering the grades around the house on the north side, basically where the fill ends over the septic to feather it down. We're gonna have a walkout basement on the east side, and the grading around the garage will be brought up approximately a foot, maybe 2 feet at its highest point. So we're trying to minimize the grade on the site, but the septic does drive the height of the foundation. So it works hand in hand with having a walkout basement. So we have received the DEP file number. The septic system has been approved by the Board of Health, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Ted, thoughts, questions?
Do we have anything from Natural Heritage yet?
We do not.
You do?
No, we do not.
We don't?
No.
Okay.
But the,
They filed with Natural Heritage, so we'll need to hear from them before we can approve it.
I know you went out with the wetlands scientist and checked the flag line. I mean, he said he had done it strictly on vegetation.
He'd done it solely on vegetation,
Right.
and he did do some ordering, but he didn't have a Munsell chart.
Mm-hmm.
And there were some holes he plugged that, were kind of a coin toss, just standing there in the field looking at them.
Mm-hmm.
And I left it at that with him.
Right.
After talking to our peer review agent at Beals and Thomas, the Munsell chart and some test pit ideas came up for the meadow, for the wet meadow,
Mm-hmm.
just to confirm that.
Right.
And I asked him what it would cost to have that peer reviewed, and he said it would probably cost $400 or $500 to have a wetland scientist go out there and do a couple of test bits and
Mhm.
bring out the Munsell chart and check your soil colors and generate a document and know that we did the right thing.
Yeah.
None of the vegetation needs to be peer reviewed. That's fine. But your guy had his own doubts a little bit about the meadow. So that's my only recommendation, is they just follow that up. And then I would want to know who's going to do the work, because this is going to be a bit of a technical job. I think you agree, Dave, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have some specific orders here that really need to be followed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a do-it-yourself project. And I don't know if you have the right to, we've never told anybody they can't put in their own driveway or whatever, but it could turn into a real headache if the person doing the job just does what they want to do.
And I think you said on Saturday you didn't have an indication from Mr. DeBarros yet as to who was going to do the work. Is that correct?
That's correct. I've never asked him.
Okay.
I know although he knows how to operate the
Mhm.
machine, I know he's not licensed in the
Okay.
town to install septic systems.
Yeah. That's
The only good thing is it's wide open from the road.
Yes.
you know, at least the first stretch, you know.
Yeah.
But I agree there might be some regular inspections that might need to occur to make sure things stay in line.
Yeah, my only concern is everything goes through the buffer zone. You know,
Yeah.
every in and out is through the buffer zone. Stockpiling materials, delivering materials, and, you know, my own interaction with them. Would just be good to have the thing nailed down and have his project be successful.
Yeah, I'm inclined to ask for that peer review of the flags where the wet meadow is. I'd like that. Sounds like we need a pretty tight paper trail. And so that's that, and the fact that, as you just said, coming in from Happy Road is, once you, just about all of it's coming in the buffer zone, so this is gonna be monitored pretty closely. And because we don't have the response yet from NHESP, we can't vote on this, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, I don't know if anybody else has any questions for Mr. DeVignan, comments?
No.
Okay.
Would an alternative to a peer review be to maintain a greater separation from the wetlands? It's sort of a no activity zone beyond the flag line now?
Could be. What are you recommending?
I'm speaking without my client's authorization here,
Right,
but
just here
I
as a-
think,
as a
you know,
recommendation. Mhm.
he's got a lot of land, you know, he's got a fairly decent stretch to the wall on the west side. So I'm thinking, you know, a 15-foot no activity zone. I think he could accommodate that. He may not be happy with it, but
You know, it'd be good, just for the sake of the discussion, if, you know,
Yeah.
maybe you might have to turn that
Point it
microphone
out.
too.
Yeah.
It'll bend over to you.
so we can't really change this corner.
Right.
But what we have is, this is our tree line, so this the meadow's here. So
Mhm.
what I'm suggesting is if the driveway swung and followed the tree line on the other side, we can maintain at least 10, if not 15, maybe more in some spots over here, of a sort of a no activity zone, where he has to let it grow back. And it's a buffer to the flag line. My concern is you send it to peer review, everybody's busy. We get into January, we get into frozen ground conditions, we get snow on the ground. We're looking at stretching this out till, who knows, middle of winter, end of winter, I don't know. I don't see it as hurting him to just shift the whole driveway over. You know, I know you use it as wherever the line is, as you saw, he put the silt fence on his own where the line is. And I told him, typically we provide 10, 15 feet
Right.
of buffer. He's like, oh, well, I didn't know that, but.
Well, the silt fence needs to be the limit of work.
Right, we moved the silt fence.
Yeah, he
to
needs to
that-
move that out
Yes.
to the limit of work anyways. So,
How are we feeling about that?
I like that idea better, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, if, we gotta continue anyway, right? So,
Right.
so we gotta wait for Natural Heritage.
yeah.
I gotta come back in 2 weeks, and look, if he doesn't like the idea, I'm gonna tell him the alternative is he has to give the town a check for $500. You know, the line could be subject to be moved, and then the driveway's gonna be moved anyway.
And then they could find that, who knows, something even worse.
Correct, the whole line could shift, and we're gonna move the driveway anyway. So,
Well, there's a
you know.
saying in the business, the more you test, the more you find. So,
So that hasn't been built yet, the driveway? I wasn't there.
No, he's laid down wood chips.
Oh, he's laying down
to
wood
get
chips, okay.
to get in and out. He's got a camper in the back, which he accessed through Tilly Way.
Oh, okay.
And as you know, fall's gone on, and we just keep getting rain. He's laid down wood chips, and that's why Pat put his cease and
I
desist
stopped him
on.
from putting the wood chips
Yeah.
down and.
And so he can get it. He's
Angry about it.
cutting wood.
Okay.
He's cutting wood, and he sells it at little stacks
front.
out front. And
Oh,
and
okay.
he's got wood stockpiles over here. You know, cut up wood. And
All right.
he's got a little tiny operation going on. It's harmless enough, but he's
He's a young guy and he's very ambitious. He's
Yes.
trying to do as much as he can possibly do, and
and it's really my fault that we haven't been here 4 months ago. I mean, he's been waiting and waiting, and
That recommendation's reasonable. So the silt fence will have to go along the limit of work. And then once the silt fence comes up, we should still have, a couple of boulders or something,
Yep.
just to keep him, just to maintain that. And I think
we can put
that's a reasonable compromise.
it half a dozen 2-foot boulders, something that you can visibly see.
Yeah.
I'll give him the option whether he wants to put a split rail fence,
Uh-huh.
he wants to plant a row of high bush blueberry, or
Sure.
something that, perhaps, talk to him about different options.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's simple, it's just easy enough to just go put a half a dozen boulders.
For a site that big, it's strange to not see boulders just there already, just
Yeah.
waiting to be moved.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, motion to continue to our next meeting. We have nothing else scheduled for the 22nd, which would be our next meeting. So we're going to recommend we continue January.
Okay.
So that would be the second Wednesday in January. It should be something like the 9th,
Was it
not the
12th?
11th, the 12th
12?
it was the 12th.
for us.
Yeah, because we picked that date up
Yeah.
today.
Okay,
Yeah.
so continue January 12th.
You won't get anything out of the state between now and Christmas
I was gonna say,
anyway.
we're gonna have
Right.
to, they won't come.
They're busy planning their Christmas.
The 12th is fine. That's absolutely.
Okay, so motion to continue till January 12th.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Favor?
Right.
Aye.
And,
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Motion to close the hearing.
No public hearing.
You don't-
No.
You can close the public hearing,
Yeah.
What did I say, meeting?
so no, to close the hearing.
Close the public hearing for that.
Continue.
We continued, we need to keep it open until natural heritage.
All right,
I used to do the same
we'll
thing.
do that. Continued, not closed.
It's continued for more information.
Exactly. And that's why you put the question mark at the bottom.
That's
Keep doing
me.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Like, somebody,
I'm guessing you're,
just a little somebody.
yeah, that's your nice handwriting. Okay, on to our regular meeting. I should have asked, were you here to speak on that issue?
No,
Okay.
no.
And, because if you were, I should have asked you and I would have apologized. So, order of conditions extension, Douglas Fredette, James Street, Lot A, a request for an extension to an existing order of conditions, just file number SE 001-0536, for property located at James Street, map 15, lot 458. The applicant proposed to construct a single-family dwelling with associated utilities, driveway, grading, and landscaping within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. Should I read the other one with it?
Sure.
Yeah. And then there's order of conditions extension, Douglas Fredette, James Street, Lot B. A request for an extension to an existing order of conditions, file number SE 001-0537. The property located at James Street, map 15, lot 458. The applicant proposed to construct a single-family dwelling with associated utilities, driveway, grading, and landscaping within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. So, what do we need to know about this?
I drive by it like 5 times a day chasing odor complaints from the asphalt plant. My only observation is he needs to spruce up his silt fence and he's all set.
Okay.
There is some work going on now. They just started.
I just started finished treeing and stumping, and
Okay.
we're going for building permits as long as this goes well. As quick as next week, we'll be applying for building permits on both properties. The delay has been strictly because of COVID, just the uncertainty of things and pricing. They're both my children's lots. I live in the front house, and it's 2 lots of my daughter.
This is just a refreshment, you go in from the side and walk up behind?
Oh, you can do that. Well, actually, on one of the houses, it's gonna have an underneath driveway that way, right? You walked off the property back
Right.
3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. And the other one will have, both frontages are on James Street. We have an extension of James Street, which is currently my driveway. We're extending it 240 feet, which allowed the 100-foot frontage on both properties. When we went to the building department, no one had a problem with us giving we're facing one towards Main Street, one towards James Street, and giving an alternative driveway through the easement, the utility easement, up on the first house behind my house. I do have plans if you wanted to take a look.
I just wanted to refresh, make sure I was sticking in the right place, that's
Yeah.
all.
So,
We're good,
huh?
we're good, same conditions, just spruce up the silt fence and
Okay. So, in terms of this issue, I mean, how long of an extension do we need?
wouldn't it be a 2-year extension or is it a 3-year?
We can do three.
We
Three?
do it 3, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Seems like you're not gonna need 3.
No, we should hopefully wrap it up by the end of this season, this upcoming season.
And I want to take this vote for both lots together because it seems like the logical thing to do. Entertaining a motion to issue an extension of the order of conditions for 3 years for James Street Lot A and James Street Lot B.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Any opposed or abstaining? That's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, on to our discussion part of the meeting, 148 and 158 Peckham Road, file number SE 001-0506. Possible violation, review of matters presented. Okay.
So, after our site visit and discussions with Jamie, based on his statements, there's no, well, there is a violation of the notice of intent. The basin wasn't installed.
Hmm.
And the basin was probably the most important part of the road going in. And when Josh mentioned that he might not put the basin in this season, that struck me as odd, because it was needed before he did all of the work. That was the first thing. All of your stormwater controls should go in first, and then build the project, and it's kind of been done backwards.
Mhm.
So I would recommend that the commission ask for a schedule on getting that basin completed,
Mhm.
and kind of keep a tight rein on that. People install basins in the winter and you know, other weather conditions. It's really not our problem. And you know, I asked Jamie to send us a letter stating that all the other work that he previously told me hadn't been completed was completed,
Mhm.
and to certify that, and then to send us the inspections for the wetlands replication. Because he had initially told me the wetlands replication had not been done. And I was surprised that when we got there Saturday, we were told it had been done, and that there were 2 years worth of inspections for it. So we'll follow up and send them a letter asking for the inspection forms.
Mhm.
I'd like them to provide the SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan.
Mhm.
I'd like them to send us that. And then work on getting the as-built for the box culverts and
Mhm.
other drainage structures. I watched the 2018 meeting where you folks approved that project. And there was a lot to it.
Mhm.
And there was a lot more to it than we talked about in the field on Saturday. There are supposed to be drainage swales, steering all of that stormwater around that second house there, down to the box culverts, and I didn't see any swales when I was out there before.
Mhm.
And the video wasn't in the archives. Nick had to get it, save it, send it to me.
Hmm.
The volume was terrible, so it took some doing, but there's the rest will shake out when Jamie does his certifications on where they're at so far.
Okay.
But I would like to see that basin going as soon as possible.
Mhm. Yeah, and as you noted Saturday, the hesitancy to provide an as-built was a bit odd.
Yes, yes.
Are the houses done?
Hmm?
Are
No.
the houses done?
One's being worked on.
One's very close to being, Josh's house is very close to
The
being
one
done,
up the
So
top?
that's.
way in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the second house is under construction. There's no erosion controls around it, there's no swales around it, there's no stabilization of anything around it. They do have the DEP file numbers up, which was a start.
Mhm.
There's a lot of other work going on to make it look good. You know, the stonemasons are out there and all that stuff's getting done, but things associated with the notice of intent have been kind of delayed.
Right.
So
Yep.
we need to wrap it up. Because if the swales aren't in, then the water's not getting to the right areas of the replication area. When I watched the video, Merrilee had some concerns about where the water was going and how is it getting to the replication area? How is it staying hydrated, if the water is being directed somewhere else? And until we see the inspection reports, we won't know about that.
Okay. All right, let's go on record then as saying that we need that drainage basin that should have been done first, done ASAP.
Yep.
And then when it's in that and other critical items go on to the as-built. So we have that, and then you get the reports and you get that list from, you know, the questions you asked Jamie, he said he'll give you a list of the things that are finished. You know.
I'll draft a letter this week and get it to you, and you can say yay or nay or add what you want to add to it, and then it'll go out. And we can get a response from
All
one.
right. Any other comments, questions? Are we all in agreement that we need this drainage basin done?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's still that big pile of dirt that's been there like forever.
It's slightly small.
The other-
but it's still there.
The other question I've asked about, and there was a discussion about material stockpile there that had asphalt and concrete and brick in it, and was that gonna be removed from the site because it wasn't clean fill? And that may still be on the site as well. You would like the report from, is it GAF or GNF? Bob?
Bob Rogers?
Yeah, he did some work for an abutter,
Yeah,
Mrs. Lopes.
right.
And she brought that information in, and you folks adopted that and asked that they address those issues. So I'd just like to make sure that was done. And then the stormwater permit issue. So there's been no stormwater permit issued there. Jamie Bissonette said that they got a waiver. There is no contemplation of a waiver in the stormwater bylaw. They did ask for one. I did find the letter in the file asking for one, but there's no record of them getting one.
Okay.
Jamie indicated that they have one. I asked them to bring it to the site visit or send it to me, and if they did, they did. But I don't see one. And then the issue with the O&M plan and the financial assurance. So
Right.
I'll put all of that into the letter.
Okay.
I'm gonna make sure we get it right.
Right.
So,
Excellent. Okay. Thanks for that update. Acushnet River Valley Nature Preserve.
is it a nature preserve? I'm getting phone calls about people hunting there. And, you know, there's pickup trucks with deer in the back and blood running out of the tailgates, and
Where?
at the Acushnet River Valley Nature Preserve. Now, I'm wondering, is it just a name, or is it actually a nature preserve? I couldn't find any reference to it anywhere online or anything.
Yeah, where would that be?
Where, what was the location?
Yeah,
It's on my notes at my desk. I'll send out an email.
yeah, we'll know where
Because
that
whenever,
would be.
when I hear Acushnet River Valley, I think golf course.
Right, that,
Yeah,
I mean, there's the access to the golf course.
but there's nothing else there like a preserve.
What
Yeah.
was that, what was that little bench, is that?
Was it?
It's not at Riverview Park down at.
No,
James
it's
River.
off of Middle Road. It's but that's Fairhaven Acushnet Land Trust.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, where on Middle Road?
I can't picture that.
I'm not sure it was.
There is no Acushnet River Valley Nature Preserve.
Yeah, I've never heard of it either. I mean, I never.
Yeah, like I said,
Yeah.
I hear those three words, I
Yeah.
think golf
So
course.
I'll get back
That's
to
a
the
good
lady
point.
call and I'll get some more information on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But at least we know that we haven't heard of it. So,
right.
And there is hunting. Anyways.
yeah, and that's why I found some hunting, a policy about hunting on conservation land in our servers. So I sent that to Joanne, and Joanne has had that put on the conservation webpage. So it's now online. You people did make some policy on hunting on conservation land.
Right.
That is
So,
allowed.
so that has made its way onto the website.
stormwater fees, and we received that fee schedule.
Yep. So now that we've started issuing stormwater permits and doing this according to the regulations, we haven't been charging any fees. And there is considerable work that goes into the stormwater stuff, and we also need to hire consultants to do stormwater work on behalf of the town, because all of these regulations are backing up our permit we have with EPA for the discharge of our stormwater townwide. So the RMS4 permit and our NIPD's permit requires us to have these regulations and bylaws. And there's some testing and sampling of outfalls in town that need to be done, mapping, GIS work, things like that. So we need to collect a fee for the stormwater permits and have that money go into a revolving fund. The town would form a 53G revolving account, and that money would go into that, and the stormwater authority, being the Conservation Commission, would have the ability to use that money to pay bills related to stormwater without having to go through procurement and go through all of those things. Currently, we have $17,000 in the stormwater budget for work this year, and the estimate from our consultant is we need $30,000. We had $17,000 last year. It didn't get spent because it wasn't enough money to do the job. So it was elected just to, if you're not going to give me enough money to do the job, I'm not going to piecemeal it. And rather than leave the money there, the town sent the money back to the general fund. And this year we need twice as much, which makes sense. And there's only $17,000. So we're going to do $17,000 worth of work.
Okay.
We missed a good opportunity with the solar fields to get some money into the account. But going forward, and this is a pretty standard fee across all of the towns that are doing it to this area.
Yeah.
So I would ask that you vote to approve those funds and to set up a 53G revolving account.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept the stormwater permit fee schedule as presented and set up a 53G revolving fund.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? That's unanimous. That's good, thanks for doing this. It'll be a good thing all around.
Yes.
Any other updates? Computers, how are things going with technology?
No, we're in a bad spot.
So we don't have.
Our IT person has,
He resigned, right?
well, he moved on to
He moved
a
on.
better opportunity. We received an email telling us to contact the selectman's office, that Lisa and Laura will be handling getting IT problems to somebody, and that we would use the tech support folks that worked under Chris. And today, an email went out looking for tech support, and an email came back from the selectman's office saying, we can't use the people from tech support anymore, they're dedicated to the school only now. The school doesn't want us to use them. So there's a black hole there. Talking to one of the selectmen, the town has funding involved in this that runs until July 1st. So hopefully they can straighten it out with the school department, that they don't have the ability to just shut us off from tech support. But Chris only had 7 hours a week of tech support for this side of the town. And that probably wasn't very realistic, looking at what's falling through the cracks,
Yeah.
tech-wise. We're still missing software, email problems, and we get random phone calls from people trying to call the departments. The phone system just sends calls where it wants to send calls. It's the strangest thing.
Wow.
But I understand the selectmen are having a Zoom meeting with all of the department heads Friday to reel this in and get everybody on the same page and see if we can get some solutions going forward until there's an interim town manager or a town administrator.
Wow,
So there's a few challenges ahead.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Tech was falling apart. Busting out at the seams.
It's pretty common. It's, municipal jobs used to pay poorly but had really good benefits. And the benefits haven't changed, but the salaries have really started catching up with the private sector. And, you know, town accountants are making $140,000 a year now. I don't know what we pay, but I don't think Acushnet pays that much. I'm seeing health agents making $90,000 a year in other towns. And our health agent doesn't make that kind of money, and it's very hard to compete with for a small town. We just don't have that kind of money.
Right.
But where I live, we had 5 town managers in 7 years. And we've had no town accountant and no town treasurer now for over 3 months. Because as soon as they get certified, we paid $88,000 a year for our town accountant. She got certified as a municipal town accountant and got a job right away the next week for $137,000.
Oh, gosh.
Compete with that.
You can't blame them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can do better, you gotta go.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting.
Wow. Let's hope that works out.
The selectmen seem pretty committed to
Mm-hmm.
getting there,
Good.
so
Okay.
they're up for it.
Anybody else? Business for the commission?
Any updates on Wilford Lane? I know we talked about it last time, DEP is
I've-
gonna get involved and all that.
I have reached out for Mike Whitehouse, I'm waiting for a call back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, well, our next meeting is gonna be January 12th in the next year.
Yep.
Seeing no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 6:42 PM.